Hello, welcome to Indo-European YouTube channel, and we have today a very special guest, Mr. Max from Modul University. Max, welcome to the session.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Max 𝔼𝕍 from Modul University. Happy to be here.
Max, we are doing a series where we are inviting a lot of European universities now on a podcast, and unfortunately, you are not in India. Otherwise, we would have done a podcast with you in our studio. But definitely, this version is good enough for students who are willing to go abroad, especially Austria. So Max, before we start, anything about Austria or about your university, maybe you can tell us some words about your institution and maybe Vienna.
Sure, of course. Well, as you can see from the background on the screen, and maybe you know about Austria, this campus is in Vienna, which is the world's most livable city, and we are surrounded by the beautiful Vienna woods. So actually, from anywhere in Vienna city, if you look to the north, you will see the Vienna woods, and there's a white building next to one of the large radio towers. We are the campus right there. So from anywhere in Vienna, you can see us, and from our beautiful terrace, we see all of Vienna, the Danube, east to west. It's beautiful. We experience all 4 seasons, but it's a beautiful temperate climate, mild, and very much history on this 500-meter high mountain, if you were to say. Modul sits on Kahlenberg Mountain, which has a long history with the Habsburg monarchy and the Ottoman sieges of Vienna in the past. So from around the 1500s until now, a lot has taken place, and Modul sits with a very good perspective of the history of this small heart of Europe.
Great, and I think I can vouch on every word Max just said, because I've been to Modul University myself a few years back. We have been working in Modul for quite some time now, and I think the city is perfect to live. I mean, we all know Vienna has been nominated as the best city to live in the European Union on the index. So the most important thing we're going to ask today is, my questions will be more about discussion will be more about practical information for students. See, programs, courses, students can find online, they can see the course curriculum. But I think a lot of students ask, I need more practical information, which is not available to a student at all times from a university perspective. So first thing, let's talk about country as, Austria. There are multiple countries in the European Union. You have France, one of the leading players in the overseas education. Germany, of course, one of the best education destination EU. How do you see Austria in that zone? I mean, why should I, as an Indian student, come to Austria, and what are my benefits?
Great question. I think Austria might be somewhat underrated within the European Union as a destination. I think there might be some preconceived notions about the country and the city, and even cultural stereotypes, let's say. And it's worth considering not only the programs that you'd like to study, but the environment in which you are matriculating, studying in a university setting to matriculate. So what some people may not know is Vienna actually has the largest university student population in the German-speaking world. So 10% of the Viennese population already are students. So that would mean if you choose to study in Vienna, the infrastructure and the culture the foundation is already built for students. So you can feel comfortable knowing that everyone else is going through the same problems that you have, and you can reach out for support. And on that note of size, Austria is quite small as a country, and the city of Vienna is also smaller than you might expect. So it's 2 million inhabitants. And if you were to compare Austria and the city of Vienna to other countries, you might think about a new start in your education journey, and you may not want to feel overwhelmed. So if you choose Paris or Amsterdam, or let's say Berlin, those cities in and of themselves might be really large, and you might be thinking, I don't know if this is the right choice. Maybe I didn't make the right choice. I want the European experience, but maybe not this overwhelming feeling of having too much to do. So I think Austria sits in a very particular, special place, particularly for the programs we offer, the student support, and again, the specialized courses that are in the city, but also it's a very international city. So you will get a large cultural exposure, but you'll still feel very much connected to small expat communities alongside that.
Will that be a correct statement if I say that the English track programs are very limited in Austria as compared to France and Germany. That's also a reason of less number of students choosing Austria for higher education, because there are selective private universities in Austria, and you're one of them. But if you go to public universities, of course, you can find English taught programs, but they are still less as compared to the other European countries. Would that be a right statement?
I think that's a fair statement, yes, and that's where, again, Modul would stand out. It's in a German-speaking country. However, Austria is not Germany. We do speak the same in language, but the dialect is different. However, you do not need a basis of German to study at Modul. We offer all of our courses in English, so that does distinguish us from larger public universities in Vienna and around Europe as well.
I think the next question is going to be very, very important for a lot of audience, because the moment people say study in Austria, the thing, tuition fees is free. You don't have to pay tuition fee in Austria if you go to public university. Is that a correct statement?
So, what I would actually like to say is, when someone says Austria, most people actually would start to think Australia, because the letters are very close. You might be thinking, oh, Melbourne and kangaroos, Southern Hemisphere. So Austria is different than our beautiful continent of Australia. And then tuition is the next topic. So public universities in Vienna are generally at a lower cost. And the private market is situated to offer students a different kind of curriculum. The experience is inherently different. The caliber of teachers is different. So there is a price that comes for matriculating at Modul, so to speak, but it can be very beneficial for someone who would appreciate more structure and a very specialized degree with certain career benefits.
I completely agree with you. I think the model is quite similar now. Germany has also have public university. They don't charge tuition fee, or they charge with less tuition fee. Similarly, Austria as well. Germany has more private universities now. I mean, more than 20 universities I can count on my hand. Austria still have lesser number of private universities and English taught educators. But I think that's also make the Austria more attractive destination for students who don't want to go in the rush. We want to have the quality education, but they also want to have a right international mix, because now Germany is filling up a lot, like really massively. And I always tell in my podcast, I'll be talking straight the right topics, because a lot of students now going to German private universities are complaining that I can see a lot of Indian students, Nepalese students, Bangladeshi students only in those private universities. Whereas if you talk about Austria, I think the international mix is still good. What do you say on that?
Very good. And we stand out at Modul with over 70% international student enrollment, and our campus has representation from over 100 nationalities all over the world, including a large Indian, Nepalese, Bangladeshi student base. So we have many applicants from that region. And I've actually been to India myself, so I have some connection. I've started in Madras, and I went really just east to west all the way north. So I have a soft spot in my heart for India, and I'm glad that it is reciprocated for those who want to maybe experience what Austria is like. Learning from each other is really important. I think that's one of the best parts about what I've experienced living in Vienna. I moved here myself 15 months ago from the United States, and I was looking for exposure to ideas and languages and a quality of life. And I, for example, had my car in the United States. I wanted to sell my car and rely on public transit. So in Vienna, the public transit is world class, and I think it provides this predictability, not only for how to get from point A to point B for students, but that the infrastructure and that the culture, the government, and that services function efficiently, which should take the burden and anxiety off of students, so then they can just focus on their studies and having a great life and enjoying what the city has to offer, which is almost overwhelming, Dipendir. Every weekend, you have the opportunity, I do, to just choose from this plethora of activities within Vienna. So I love living here just for the access. So there's so much beautiful inspiration that comes from walking around the first district, or taking a hike in the Vienna woods that surround Modul, or visiting world-class museums, or just riding the train. I just love people watching, sitting on the streetcars and seeing who is surrounding me and how we all intermix. And it's very safe as well. I felt that coming from the US. There's such a quality of life that just feels elevated. That's why I really personally think Vienna has a special place in Europe, and then perhaps in a student's future education career.
I think you have well defined why study in Vienna, and especially it's coming from a guy who is from US and living in Vienna. We all understand US is always on the top. That's that's what we look at up to. But if you're coming from US and saying this thing, I think it means a lot, because the quality of life in Europe is absolutely different as compared to any other continent. And I think until and unless you as a student go and live there, and experience the Erasmus exchange and go to different countries, we're not able to understand what it means, basically. So great. Coming to the next thing, now some practical matters. Students who want to come to Europe from India specifically, a lot of students have questions. Can I work in Austria? That's the one common question we always hear. So are students allowed to work when they come and study with you?
Absolutely, they are. So international students and anyone who has a student residency permit is allowed to work to a maximum of 20 hours per week. And that is allowed under our immigration laws. So students can hold part-time jobs. If they need to pay for any of the extra life expenses, it's an option. So I would recommend that students look into what vocations might be available to them here.
So when we talk about the English requirement for students, for bachelor's and master, what is the IELTS requirement, and what all tests do you accept?
Great question, right? Some people don't know about Modul. When you learn about us, you hear that we are an English institution. All of our classes are taught in English, and we require a B2 certificate level proficiency for bachelor students. And if you're interested in master's students, it's a C1. So we accept 4 different tests. A lot of students ask if they can apply with the Duolingo test. That's often a question that we get. And actually, since my time working here, we have discontinued accepting Duolingo. So we no longer accept those test results. The certifications are IELTS, TOEFL, Cambridge, and Pearson. So all 4 of those are the certificates that we accept. And then the website has the numbers and which results that we look for.
Okay. When students come from a foreign country, the accommodation is the one biggest challenge when you land. Once you get the visa, till you get the visa was the biggest challenge. Till you get the admission, admission was the biggest challenge. And then after visa, next biggest challenge is the accommodation, and sometimes it's more complicated one. It's very difficult to, and it's directly proportional to your finances. So how do you manage your accommodation for your students?
Yeah, it's a really big, important topic. You need to have a roof over your head. And I know how it is to look for an apartment. So from my perspective, I was worried, and making a journey across large oceans and lifting up your life and uprooting, planting again, it's a big deal. You have to consider how much to take and where you're going to go. And when I was searching for an apartment, there were so many options. I felt a little overwhelmed, which is actually a good thing if you were to benchmark Modul in Vienna against a university in Amsterdam, for example. There are differences in the availability and inventory of housing. So how I searched was on the private market. That is an option, and there's many websites for private markets. But Modul is special because we are student-focused. We have a holistic admissions process and a holistic student-focused support system. So Modul has a housing partnership with 6 different housing partners in Vienna, and then we contract with them to provide housing for our students with a range of price points. If you are interested in a lower price point of shared spaces, shared rooms, all the way up to private spaces, private rooms. So students have their choice. Each of them is close enough connected to campus. They don't live on campus. Modul is different. Our housing is in the city. So you get to choose how you'd like to live, but you have support of our housing team to assist you with looking at the right destination for yourself. And then the prices are actually quite comparable, because it's called warm rent, where the utilities are included. So unless it's stipulated, the students pay a smaller amount with utilities, which is actually really nice. Compared to myself, I pay utilities outside of my rent, and it's a little more expensive. So students have an advantage there, and Modul supports you along the way.
what is the average cost of living at least one should expect? That's like minimum. This is what you can get something for a
For accommodation?
Accommodation sharing, maybe
Mhm.
2 students or 3 students sharing, even the room sharing is, let's say 20 students sharing a room.
Yeah, average might be around 500 euros a month.
Okay, and in this, student will get their own room or they have to share the room?
Well, in that case, it might be their private room, maybe with a roommate. It could be both, but then the shared spaces, kitchen, bathrooms are going to be communal. So that would be one example. And each of their housing partners has a variety of options. So students can choose what works best within their budget or what kind of style they'd like to live in, the
Okay.
design or the facilities access, things like that.
At least there's a benchmark of 500 we should look at, which is the common benchmark in many European countries now. I mean, even Paris, and depending upon country and city, of course, that goes up and down.
Yeah.
We'll talk about the coming and living in Vienna. Of course, now I got my admission, I got my visa, I got my accommodation. Right now, I'm coming to university for my education. Bachelor students, they have to study how many hours a day in a week? Master students, how many hours a day in a week?
Yeah, well, at that point, right, you are ready to start hitting the books and studying, and you're excited to sign up for your courses, so you've made it this far. That would be really exciting. Well, it would depend on the semester intake. Modul actually has two, one in spring in February, one in fall in September. So depending on the intake that a student applies for, the classes that are available might change the schedule that they choose or how they sign up for the week. But typically, bachelor's and master's students would be a Monday through Friday schedule, and they would have the option to choose classes that kind of work, let's say, for what we discussed with their part-time job, if they have to have a shift in an early morning or afternoon. So approximately 2 to 5 hours a day is what you might be looking at to start with for both undergraduate and postgraduate. Monday through Friday would be the commitment, and not every day really has to have a class. Sometimes your Wednesday is free, or sometimes your Monday provides you a long weekend. So again, depends on the semester intake, one of the 4 bachelor programs or one of the 3 master's programs that you choose from. So it's you have to apply, you have to meet all those steps and see how it looks when you are ready to sign up.
Okay, great. When we talk about the now education point of view, in a classroom, how many students in a bachelor program will be there in all together? Let's say hospitality and tourism management program. What would be the class size or total?
Well, for the flagship tourism programs that we offer, there's 2 of them. The average, and actually between all of the undergraduates, average class size, the average is 22. And that's between all of the 3 or 4 years in between. We have a few options of the length of the curriculum that they could choose. So average 22. When you first start out, you will be taking classes with a larger cohort because similarly, all of our first year students have very much shared classes with certain courses. So the largest that they would experience is in year 1, and that might be 60 students in one of our larger lecture seminar halls. But then on the other side, if you're in your last year, you've chosen a specialization, your class size could be as small as 5. So it really does change depending on the track that you chose and the specialization that you're in. But average 22 for undergraduate. Master's is, I believe, 19 average size.
Okay. Admission, visa, accommodation, tuition, class sizes, everything is done. Now I'm ready to, go out and do some part-time job. I'm going to make a circular motion, of the whole process.
Right.
What all can happen with me, what all I have to do once I'm in Vienna. So what kind of part-time jobs I can expect in Vienna as a student? Of course, we all know that it's going to be student jobs. I'm not expecting, to be, got a job into a white-collar job in public sector. Of course, it's not possible. But there are 2 kind of jobs these days available in the European market. One is like, the student jobs, which we talk about Gold, which deliver the food apps. And also then they have service centers, call centers, service center, opportunity to students who speak English and they don't speak German. So how is the Vienna market? Because what I just told to you is, if I talk about other countries, this is what the scenario is. How is Vienna?
Right. So Vienna has a large expat community and a really international job startup hub, kind of entrepreneurial market. So there's a lot of small tech businesses that are trying to get off the ground, which require, let's say, someone from our applied data science program who's really interested in using their software programming engineering skills as an assistant or working in some kind of capacity within some IT assistant position. Like you said, having English-speaking jobs in call centers, I'm sure, is an option. There's actually a whole dedicated career services department at Modul, which helps students find internships and careers. So there is always a rotating there's a revolving door, let's say, between the 700 partner companies that Modul works with and the institution. So not only can students feel supported at campus asking questions about polishing their CV, but then industries make visits to our campus and we host career days and we host workshops where providers and partners showcase what is available to them. So Modul, for those of you who may not know, was since 1908 founded as a vocational training school in tourism and hospitality sector. And since then, we have expanded, and it's not just tourism programs, but management and business in general is the focus at Modul. So our partners work in those fields. So students might be looking at assistant management positions, working in HR assistant positions, working as a receptionist, perhaps working at hotels and all of the different sections that make up the hospitality sector, which hopefully, as some of your listeners may know, when you travel, you interact with a lot of different businesses. There's many touch points. There's a lot of different industries that kind of create this web of what it means to travel. So students can find different jobs within a lot of those fields because not only does our curriculum provide knowledge within those fields, if you specialize in one of them, but then our partners work within those fields too. So it's not just going to be delivering food with Bolt or 𝕼𝕍𝕇, even though that could provide you some much needed cardio if you're sitting too much studying, but there's a lot of options. And Modul has a job teaser board, for example, where industries post jobs to Modul's board before they go to market. So then students have like early access to internships and jobs. So we do take career outlook really seriously, and Modul has a success of 96% employability within the first 6 months. So we're quite proud of that for our undergraduates, that we help them find jobs.
I knew all that, to be honest, but then I really wanted to come from you because when I say this, it's more like a consultancy saying this, but I think when it comes from you, it's becoming more authentic, and I think my students, have always given me a good feedback about Modul, and you are absolutely correct. The opportunity is endless in Vienna, and there's if anybody of our viewers do some research on the startup culture, you're absolutely right. There's a boom in startup culture in Vienna after Berlin. I believe Berlin, Vienna, Copenhagen, Riga, Vilnius. We are seeing this, across the EU, and the demand is quite high in terms of highly skilled people. And I think the next question is going to be more about the job seeker visa. So if I'm education from Modul University or from Austrian University, am I allowed to stay back in the country and find the job?
Sure. Yeah, you put in all of this effort. What are you going to do with it? And how do you continue achieving your dreams? That is a great question. That would be my question. So students would study at Modul with a student residency permit. After they graduate, they are allowed to extend it for an additional 12 months. And that could be for the period of which they are seeking a job, maybe continuing their internship and so on. And the next level, which I just have to pull up, is called the red, white, red card. So there is an option for a student who has found a job for their employer to assist with extending their employment and temporary settlement in Vienna. And I believe that's for a period of 2 years. And it can be renewed once again. So the 2-year is red, white, red. Then there's a red, white, red plus, because everything has a plus nowadays. We could have a Indo-European Plus agency and then a Modul Plus. So the second option for renewal would then be another 3-year extension. And then someone hopefully would then, let's say that, it's all in the hopes that you really want to have a permanent kind of settlement in this country, let's say in Austria. or that could then mean that you want to work within the EU Schengen area. So we do have that option for students to extend their education and their permits.
So you're saying after working for 5 years, I can apply for my permanent residency?
Right, that would be the start of the next step for the permanent residency process.
Okay. My education years will be counted in these 5 years, or they will be education years plus 5 years of work to get my...
Yes, I believe it's the latter. I think it would be the education and then plus 5 years.
Okay, great. So once I finish my bachelor's in Modul, you just mentioned that you have 96% of your bachelor degree students find a job within the first 6 months. Where do these students go? They are majorly in Austria or outside Austria?
You know, I would say 20% of our students actually remain in the country itself. The next largest destinations would have to be Spain, the Netherlands, and actually Hong Kong. Those are the largest 3 markets that come after Austria as a market. So we do have a lot of international job mobility as well.
Right. So I can see now coming to the financial matters, because
yes.
study abroad start from finances first, but I think I'm going to start now with finance, because if I don't have money, I can't go, to be honest. Tuition fee at the bachelor degree program, average tuition fee would be how much?
So, yes, nothing in life is free, right? Except maybe time that we have, and we should use it wisely. Let's say you're looking at the undergraduate programs. There's a few of them. So the average cost for the most popular program is international management. It is around 7,740 euros per semester, and it is a 6-semester program. So we're looking at around 15,000 euros per year, but that's the start, because there are available reductions and grants for students that can be calculated into the overall payment after a student is enrolled.
Okay, so even this scholarships kind of thing, you're offering scholarship to bachelor degree students.
So Modul has more reductions and grants than we have scholarships. We actually have just one scholarship, which is regionally, kind of geographically based within Central Europe. It has to do with one of our part owners, and it really does circulate around kind of the Austria, Hungary, Poland, like Southern Eastern European market. So it really is based on nationality, and that is specifically for a certain group of students. So for international students who are coming, there are still ways to reduce the payments, and it would be, let's say, a merit grant, for example, or you've studied in an IB school, or you are an exchange alumni, or let's see, you choose how you pay your tuition. There's a few different ways of reducing your tuition, and it can be cumulative, which is helpful.
Right. Master degree program tuition fee will be how much?
Master's degrees are a period of 4 semesters, so it's a 2-year program for all 3 of them. Per semester, it's 5,810 euros, so then approximately 11,000 euros to start, and then again, reductions and grants are available too.
Okay, great. So you have 2-year master degree programs and 3-year bachelor degree programs?
Yes, and we have a 3-year, there's 2 3-year programs. There's a 3.5-year option, and then there's 1 4-year program.
Students who have done 2 years in India, can they do a transfer? Can they transfer their credits to Modul, provided the credits matches with your portfolio of the program? You take transfer students?
Yes, we accept transfer students, and it would be up to 60 ECTS, the European transfer credits. So that is the allowable maximum of credits that can be transferred. Students would apply in the same way if you were a transfer case or just an original applicant. So you would create an application online, and after you're enrolled, then you would apply if you're a transfer case through the application for transfer credits, and then the dean would review what you've already taken.
So basically, if I got a first-year bachelor's done in India, and if I have everything matching with Modul, kind of matchmaking is done, I can start with my second year. If I've done 2 years in India, but I still can start with only the second year, because 1 year is 60 ECTS, right? So I will not be able to bring 2 years together. It's only
Correct.
for me. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you say 60 credits, I can simply make it easy. 1 year maximum you can transfer.
Yes, hopefully all the classes align and that we can see what you're studied. You won't have to study the same thing twice. So it's case by case basis. We
Right.
highly encourage transfer students to look into us.
Super. So basically now I have information on the transfer students and the tuition fee also. And we're talking about students now, student lifestyle or student journey after the education is done, or after his part-time, he's finished with his part-time job on the weekend. Let's talk about some student fun life. What all they have?
Well, let's see. What I had mentioned before still is applicable. There's an endless amount of lifestyle activities in Vienna, seasonally as well. You would obviously be able to experience the sports facilities all around the city in spring and summer. Personally, in the United States where I grew up, using waterways and swimming in natural areas such as rivers or lakes wasn't actually very encouraged unless you have like a kayak or you're very skilled. But the Danube River in Vienna is very clean and highly respected. So in summer you have a plethora of activities all along the Danube, swimming and sailing. There are swans that live in the Danube River, so there's just so much to see in that area. And there's like 3 different sections of the Danube. So there's like swimming sections, there's recreational, and there's like natural sections. And that's just summertime activities. Let's say you want to participate in the national sport, which is skiing. So in the wintertime, you have really safe and direct access with train networks to the slopes. Maybe, I think it's an hour and a half to one of the closest mountains to start skiing, if that's your thing. That would be sports. But then on top of that, let's say you're interested in arts and culture. You want to see inspiring paintings and also take painting classes, pottery classes. It goes on and on, Deepandir. For example, this weekend I'm going to a concert with one of the professors here at the Musikverein. So he has tickets to see a concert and he's invited me. So if you're interested in audio inspiration, that's an option. Let's say you're into dancing. Vienna hosts around, I think, 80 dancing balls and banquets every year. So there's so many options of different kind of ball culture. It's a very big cultural thing in Austria and Vienna. You can go to, really, it goes on and on. Operas and there's also student clubs, I forgot to mention. Modul itself, for students who are interested in certain activities, offers student clubs. So if you want to start a club based on your activity preference, you can easily start a club and then have that on the weekend to look forward to. Or you can join one of the already existing clubs like Film Society, Wine Society. There's even like Business Club or even like a football club. So it goes on and on.
Great. I think there's one question which we left. We said the blocked account for the visa application is going to be blocked with the bank in Austria. So is it some universities, in Belgium, university make a blocked account. In Germany, it's the German bank which make a blocked account. In Modul, you just mentioned that it has to be an Austrian bank. So which bank do you normally recommend students to block with? Is there a specific bank, a perfect partner or something?
Good question. I don't know if I have an answer of like a ideal partner. There are many banks, like there's Raiffeisen or Bank of Austria, Hypo. There's a few. I myself have Raiffeisen Bank, so I think it's not. If you do not have a certain account, it does not preclude you from continuing with the visa application process. But there's also good news. Modul has, again, with the students focused kind of support, we have free visa consulting support for students. So let's say you're accepted and you're ready to start the process. You can consent to work with a third-party representative who then helps students with all of their questions for free as they continue getting their visa to study at Modul, which would be questions about embassy appointments, your question about banking and appointments, or let's see, the document checklist. So we offer that to students because, again, we have from over 100 nationalities on campus. They need help. And I think it's important to ask for help in life. No one's perfect. You don't need to know everything all at once. It's good to lean on assistance, and we offer that.
Great. So basically, what is the average visa processing time when the student make the application? Any idea on that you have?
Yeah, well, let's say for it differs. It would be dependent on the student's origin and with their nationality, with the embassies that they work with. So average time between 2 to 4 months would be the processing time for that.
Absolutely.
We have had cases where it is longer, which is sometimes unfortunate. An embassy is overwhelmed and it takes 5-6 months for a visa application. So it does require just some planning and some time. That's why we say apply early and apply often. So when you're ready, Modul's application process is open. So you don't have to apply at a certain date, and the portal to apply is open 1 year before the semester begins. So if you are ready, you can upload your documents, click submit, and hear about your enrollment decision and pay tuition within a period of 5 weeks. And from that point, you'll have ample time to look at the visa requirements and everything else that you'd mentioned to get you over here.
True. I think getting the appointment and also making the visa application, students, please note that in this video, I'm telling you very upfront, you apply to any university in Austria. If you're not applying the visa on time, there's certain countries I highly recommend, and Austria is one of those countries where I can say, rush the application as soon as possible. If you do not do that, I have many students every year who comes to us, and they always make their visa application late, and the consequences is they either get the visa too late, like in October, November, or sometimes it got even refused because they applied too late. So if you want to study in Austria and you are, it doesn't matter which university you want to study. I think Max will also, endorse the statement that you need to rush now for September intake. Really now. If you don't rush now, you're gonna be late. So it's not a sale pitch or a sale podcast. It's about you knowing Modul, you knowing Vienna, you knowing the process, and if you feel that this is where I want to be, definitely we can help you with all the information. Matt, you have shared a lot of information about the Modul and Vienna as well. Before we make a closure to the podcast, any message do you have for our students from India?
Well, thank you so much for your time and your attention. I know it was a lot of information. It is available all on the website as well, so there is assistance to check back. Our team, myself in the student recruitment team, is available on WhatsApp and email. We can help you with your questions. That's what we are here for. So Modul would stand out, I think, for a variety of reasons, like we talked about. Vienna and the classes and culture that you are exposed to. But I want to just also highlight that Modul's courses are assured by quality accreditation through our state Ministry of Education. So it's important that when you're looking to study, let's say in a bachelor's, that what degree you receive is actually accepted and transferable worldwide, because you may have a lot of options on your plate. And trust yourself, I would say to your students, when you're looking, you'll make the right decision. If Modul is on your list, it's important to note that our bachelor degrees and masters, all of them are assured through the state. Quality assurance, AQ Austria has assured and qualified our programs, meaning that you can take our bachelor's at Modul, and let's say you have global aspirations to study in the Netherlands, or let's say the United States, all of our degrees are transferable. So it's important to look at the assurance and quality accreditation of the degrees that you're looking at. Hopefully Modul is on your radar. And again, trust yourself. I think you'll have a great time if you choose Vienna and choose Modul.
One last question and then we're done. I forgot that question basically. At the bachelor level, you're offering students, they have to have a high school, right? So in the high school, if student doesn't have mathematics, do you have some program which require mathematics and some which doesn't require mathematics, or all your programs require mathematics? Can you just read this particular thing?
Yeah, good question. They would all require mathematics. It is important for our curriculum. It is part of the first introductory courses. Mathematics is highly encouraged. And if a student may not fulfill the requirements, there's a foundation program at Modul. And it's actually important to note that our Indian friends actually do require a foundation program with the Modul bachelor degrees. So we do want to make sure that you're prepared for the bachelor program, and we do ask that mathematics is part of that, and we look forward to helping you find the degree that fits you.
So basically what you're saying is everybody coming at the bachelor's program from India needs to do a pre-foundation semester plus the bachelor's like combo. It's mandatory.
According to our website and our requirements for the ministry, yeah, it is part of the journey for Indian students.
Okay. And if somebody doesn't have mathematics, that can be covered up in the foundation semester.
Right. That would be where we would supplement those courses.
So basically, we can accept students who doesn't have mathematics with the foundation semester, which means that students with any background in the high school can apply because they're coming through any which ways the foundation semester.
Correct. Yes. So it's already an advantage, a leg up if you have mathematics, and then let's say your foundation program does not have the mathematics course, but it would supplement with geography or English courses, things like that. There's a handful of classes in the foundation program. Yeah.
So basically, once the student finish, I'm going to put in the end of this podcast, I'm going to put all the bachelor degree programs offered by Modul universities and also a slide for master degree programs. For the master degree students, the bachelor degree has to be relevant, or it can be in any field.
It would have to be relevant. It would be related to management, tourism management, sustainability, policy development, finance, economics. It would need to be a relevant subject.
Right. Super.
Yeah.
And is there any master degree program where you accept students from any bachelors?
Well, the Master's in Sustainability Development, Management and Policy is the most flexible of the three that we have for looking at students with a larger bachelor background. So I would encourage students who may not think that they fit into one of the molds of management to apply to the Sustainable Development Management class courses, because the classes will be similar, but we do accept students from a larger background for that one degree. I would go for that.
Great. Thank you, Max. Thanks a lot for your time. And once again, it was a pleasure talking to you and knowing Modul one more time. It's always good to keep updated, because my last conversation and bit was last year. But I think for 2024, we're looking forward to send some good students to your university.
Thanks, Deepandir. It was a pleasure talking to you and having all of your listeners learn more. I'm happy to answer your questions and answer further questions. We're here, happy to share. That's what it's about, sharing knowledge, sharing experience, and sharing each other.
Students, if you have questions about studying in Austria or Modul University, please comment on the video and we'll be happy to answer you all the questions on the comment section. I know sometimes you're busy, you're not able to pick up the phone calls. You can also WhatsApp us, and ask your questions. One of our experts will be happy to write down all the questions for you. Thank you so much.
Press the bell icon on the YouTube app and never miss another update.